Thanks, Tony. I'm glad you're here, man. And so I think we're about. Hey, okay, I played it twice. Okay, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. I wrote a book. I'm really excited about my guest I have back today. Tonight I have someone who's been exposing the dark controllers of this realm for years. Tony Sayers of transcendingtimes.org. Tony is known for his no-nonsense approach to unveiling deceptions of the matrix, from archonic interference and entity attachments to AI infiltration, soul trap theory, and how we reclaim our sovereignty over your mind and spirit. We'll be diving into how the hidden agendas behind AI and transhumanism, how entities influence our thoughts and behaviors, the trap of false light and breaking the reincarnation cycle, and practical tools for energetic protection and inner freedom. And you guys don't want to miss this one. It's time to pull back the curtain and see who's been pulling the strings. And a little bit more about my guest. Tony Sayers is a truth seeker, author, speaker, and energy worker who founded transcendingtimes.org. His work focuses on exposing the manipulations of the archonic realm, helping people break free from entity attachments, false belief systems, and soul traps. Through his books, talks, and personal sessions, Tony empowers people to reclaim their sovereignty and escape the matrix control system. And I'd like to give him a big warm welcome back to the show. Tony, thanks so much for coming back on, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, Rob. I'll have to steal that intro from you. That was a good one there. Did you write that up yourself?
ChatGPT helped me. I used AI. We're going to be talking about AI.
Wow, this dude is like, he's got me nailed better than myself. Like, how that's kind of scary though, isn't it? It's like, yeah, it's good. It's good, but scary.
I know it seems like AI knows us better than we know ourselves, right? It's weird.
Doesn't it? I mean, it's always got its fingers in our pies anyway, with recording everything in our life and, all the stuff that goes with that. But yeah, it's incredible how it put that all together. And I was thinking, wow, is Rob like an author or something? Because that's the best intro I've ever had.
It's funny. So I told you a little bit about my entity attachment before we started. Do you think it's like AI from what do you think because it's weird because I started working with the AI right around that time that incident happened. Then it was weird. Like I told you, something like was scanning my head, and then it felt like, like something like pierced my crown. And then, like I said, flashes went into my eyes. And like, I mean, have you heard of anybody experiencing anything like this before? And like,
yeah, I mean, I've heard it all down the years, as you can imagine. I've worked with thousands of people at this point. With something like that, what you experienced, Rob, that would be what I would refer to as like a kind of a level 2, because I grade them 1 to 3, right? Entity attachments. 1 being like a full-on possession, and 2 is something like that, something where there's some kind of incident where you kind of feel your energy is hijacked. Then you start getting these kind of like severe anxious thoughts. You feel like your energy is being drained. You feel like you get suicidal thoughts that aren't yours. And that, like I say, that normally precedes some kind of an event where you've either knowingly or unknowingly opened yourself up, because a lot of the stuff that we do, particularly in the New Age and stuff like that, which I talk about on my channel, it opens us up. And when we're in that kind of open, vulnerable state, these entities are opportunities, and so that's when they'll lock in. And so it's quite common, someone that maybe they have an ayahuasca session or a DMT, or that I've heard it all. I've had people where they've been on like meditation retreats, and they've opened their mind up and something's got in, or some kind of accident where they were knocked unconscious, or of course, some form of like, sexual or physical abuse. Anytime you're really out of your center, they can also, that's when the heavier ones, the more problematic attachments can come in, let's say. So when I'm working with someone and they're explaining, whatever's happened, I always want to link back to what happened preceding the event. What happened? What did you do? Did you take some form of like psychedelic or something, or were you drunk? Because normally there's something that happened before this problem occurred. So, with you said that you were opening yourself up energetically. I would say, what was that person working with, or that AI, like you say, that if it came at the time you started using all this AI, I mean, we know that like all the weird stuff that's going on with AI just in the laptop, they're reading our thoughts and all that kind of stuff, recommending things that you just got to think about it and you get recommendations. So, and I would say, like I said to you off air, Rob, particularly I would call like yourself, like a frontliner, let's say, in this battle that we're, involved in. That people like yourself, people that are on this journey, going really deep down the rabbit holes into looking at stuff like entities and soul trap and stuff like that. This is where they really don't want you to go. And people like yourself putting information out there, you're going to be on the radar, right? So they're going to, your card's basically already marked, and if they can find an opportunity when you have a weak moment, they'll take it. And so, yeah, it sounds like something happened, and then obviously that came in. And yeah, it could be an entity, it could be like an AI possession. I've worked with people down the years, and they're full of AI, and I'm not talking like physical AI. This is etheric AI. So there can be like entity possession and AI possession, and this is how nasty this stuff can get. And like I say, there's different levels of attachments, different strengths of attachments. But yeah, the telltale signs are just feeling completely drained, having thoughts, they're not your own. You'll be sitting there, I worked with people down the years that said, Tony, I was driving my car and this voice just came into my head, drive your car into that wall. They said, I know it wasn't my voice. And so a lot of the voices that we have in our heads, they're not ours. They're not coming from us. They're coming from these beings. They're coming from, etheric AI, mind, voice to skull technology, voice of God technology, and yeah, different variety of entity races. So it may not even just be one attachment. It could be many attachments that got in on this weak moment. It all sounds horrific, but it is what it is. We've got to look at it for what it is. This stuff is going on, and they're trying to obviously feed out off our energy, siphon off our energy, and with all the voices and everything, they're trying to take us off our path, lead us into cul-de-sacs, encourage us to make wrong decisions, waste our time, and so the hijacking is incredible, really. I mean, I like to spin it all on its head, because you can look at it two ways. You can look at it, well, look at what they're doing, we're screwed. But I look at it as like, well, why do they need to do all of this to us, right? This is just on the energetic level. You look at what they're doing physically, with all the chemicals in the food, the water, the air. It's like, you wouldn't do that to someone unless you were really scared of them, right? Like, you just wouldn't do it. And so this is why they do it, because left unchecked, left to our own devices without all of this interference, we're incredibly powerful beings, and they know that. And this is kind of like the cosmic joke, in that we're all walking around thinking, little me, what can I do? But actually one human spirit is a threat to the matrix, really. And they don't want you on your highest path. They don't want you doing what you're doing, Rob, putting out information that's going to wake people up. And I mean, look at what happened to your YouTube channel, sadly. I mean, that's devastating for you. And it sent a message to all of us that can happen at any time. Unfortunately, it happened to you. So they don't want information getting out there. They don't want people they don't want people on the right path. They're quite happy. If you're talking about all the new age stuff and you're leading people in that kind of cul-de-sac, or you're talking about the political arena, the 3D level of the conspiracy. You know, they don't care about that. When you get to talking about what's really behind this, I would say, you know, some form of AI, maybe like some kind of supercomputer, and all the entities that are helping with that. It's not just one. It's not just one evil thing that wants control. It seems to be, you know, a whole load of different forms of entities in AI want to take control of humans and feed off of us. So because, like I say, we're the batteries that power this whole matrix, basically, and I don't want us waking up and working out what's going on, and you might get out of it, and then you take the batteries out of any appliance, and it doesn't work, and so this is what they're scared of, and this is why this is going on, and this is why it happens a lot more to people that go down these rabbit holes. You know, I hear it all the time. It's like, Tony, as soon as I got on to looking at your work, that's when all the interference started and stuff. And yeah, this is what they do. So yeah, what's happened there, Rob, is something that I've heard a lot down the years, and you know, it can be sorted out. It's just sometimes these things can be a little bit more complex, the more stronger attachments. But you say you've managed to get it under control a bit, have you?
It seems to be like under control. What I was going to say was what's interesting is like, you know, like RFK is like in control of the whole healthcare system here in the United States, and he's openly admitted to having a parasite in his brain. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't have some good points. He has some really good points. Like, I don't feel like there should be fluoride in the water either, and you know, I think he's on the right track with some stuff. You know, I don't tend to get political though. You know, I try not to be, but you know, he's openly admitted to having a parasite in his brain. You know what I mean? Like it's insane. So it shows that it can affect all of us. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, but no, I've been getting it under control. It seems to be, you know, like I can feel it sometimes. You know, like I did a stream from outside the other night, and what was weird was like you know, like I could mostly feel it when I was in my studio here. It seems like the entity has strength in the studio. Like I said, it made bumps come off the bed and shit like that. It was really weird, but like. I was out the other day and I was doing a stream and I was just sitting on a brick wall and I was holding my phone and I could feel the entity start touching me. Like I could feel it on my back and stuff. And I was like, man, this is weird. You know, I was like, this is very
or take any psychedelics or anything like that. And I'm not judging you or criticizing you. It's just,
well, sometimes I smoke weed. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, not a popular opinion, but I say it anyway. The general rule of thumb is anytime you alter your consciousness, it kind of makes it easier for them to infiltrate. So, like I say, they're opportunities, and so when you smoke weed, you kind of drop in frequency to a level that is you know, easier for them to infiltrate. Now, I'm not saying it was the weed that caused this particular issue. But that is also something that, you know, people need to bear. I'm not telling people what to do, right? Like you do you. People, if they want to smoke weed, smoke weed. All I'm doing is telling people how these entities work. And the general rule of thumb, like I say, is anytime you alter your consciousness, that be it through alcohol, through pharmaceutical drugs, through something like ayahuasca or weed. You know, that is, you're basically playing Russian roulette as to, you know, opening yourself up. And it's like I say, it's not a popular opinion because, you know, people want to take their plant medicines. And I get the whole weed thing. You know, I used to smoke it because you can just check out of this place. You know, I used to sit there, put my music on. I mean, this is back in the day. I don't do it now, obviously, because of my understanding and what I do. But I see why people do it. I mean, we're basically in a hell realm, so I can see why people take drugs. I can see why people drink alcohol. I can see why people check out with like overeating with food and, you know, all the other stuff. So I'm not here like I say, blaming or judging people. I get it completely. This is a hard place to be, and we all need or want something to lean into to just kind of take the edge off, right? And you know, knowing what we know as truth seekers, that is a huge burden to carry in and of itself, because we're carrying all this information. Most people don't want to hear it. And, you see what's coming, you see where they want to take this place. And it's hard, it's hard to live with that every day. I find it hard. But a lot of the things that they've given, these pillars for us to lean into, are not all that we think they are meant to be. And I'm not debating that there's not some medicinal benefits from like that particular plant, but actually smoking it like that, it does open you up. So just something to bear in mind moving forward. But it's the same with all like the new age stuff, all the stuff that people are doing there. People are channeling, and they're just talking to entities that are masquerading, and then they're getting their energy snapped off and drained, and then they're working on other people, and they're thinking they're working with angels, and then they're doing all this light language and Reiki, which is tapping into the false light energy grid. And just so people are kind of like tying themselves up in knots, and not understanding what they're doing, and not realizing how deep the deception goes. So yeah, I just wanted to make that point.
We had a question from the audience. This is from Michelle. Her name is New Earth, the Earth Grid Rescue Mission, and she says, "I think my Suboxone is causing problems with my pineal gland and vibration, but I'm trying to get off of it." I thought that'd be a good to tackle, right? Because that's what I find, Tony, is a lot of people. I'm an ex-addict myself. I suffered with addiction like 14 years ago. But I mean, I totally agree with you. This place can be really hard. And I think a lot of times we use stuff as a coping mechanism, right? Because like we've had deaths in our family, or maybe our girlfriend died or boyfriend died, or like, we know someone that, we can't say the word, but unalived themselves or something like that. And it hits hard, right? Because these are people we care about in our life, or like, so we, and it seems like the Matrix is set up that way, right? For us to feel empathy towards our loved ones and stuff. And it's not just that, it's other things, loss of jobs, all kinds of stuff can cause you to get into like addictive behavior. But like, then they have stuff for you to get off of, stuff like Suboxone. So like, that's just as bad, right? Obviously. I mean, it's not even a question, right? Yeah. It's like,
yeah, I mean, as I say, this place for me is a hell realm. I think they've set it up for trauma and suffering. I mean, look at what we have: constant wars, famines, resets. We're kept in scarcity, chasing a piece of paper around every day of our lives. To put food into our mouths and roof over our head. I mean, like, I'm looking at the birds out there. They're not, they're not worried about all that stuff. So all the stuff that they do to us, that like the constant fear and negativity with the news, the media, it's just constant. And I always say, even if you're doing okay, right, and things are going reasonably well, you're always looking for like the rug pull, like is a family member going to get ill? Are they going to do, like there's always, you can never like fully relax here. You know what I mean? And so, and even if you're okay, you've still got the understanding that like there's kids over in Gaza being bombed, like there's people rummaging through bins, like just here where I am in Mexico. And like, so even if you're okay, when you wake up, you realize that you're part of like a family, and just knowing that other people are suffering, how can you be truly happy? It just doesn't allow it. And of course, like you say, so many of us, we grow up being traumatized, whether that be like physical, sexual abuse, even through like unconscious parenting. Like even if you've had a good upbringing, you've still got to put up with, like many of us got back, I won't say it, got the jabs, when we were kids and all that kind of stuff, and like just bullying at school. Like it's just, and so we grow up with, the problem is because we have all that trauma from childhood, and not even that, just the birthing process, Rob. The amount of times I've had sessions with clients where they've gone into memories where they've come out the womb and they're in trauma just from being here. You know, this is why babies cry when they're born, because the mother's supposed to squat, not lay down. So the baby gets caught up in the birth canal. The mum's got trauma, so the baby's taken on all the trauma and the feelings from the mum in the womb. And so already the baby's not feeling safe. Then it comes out and you've got all these masked people with different utensils and scissors, and then they get whisked off and put into an incubator where they're separated from the mother. So even the birthing process, right? We don't tend to think of that being a trauma, but that it's a trauma. And so just arriving in this place can be traumatic. And then so, yeah, what you're saying is that we grow up with this, and then people, they're looking for something to take the edge off of all that trauma, you know, whether that be alcohol, drugs, weed, whatever. And so this is the problem. The Matrix gives us all those things because it knows that we need these things to cope, basically. These are coping mechanisms. When, you know, what we need to do is the inner work, go back and revisit what I call these holographic imprints that are stuck in time and space and trauma, and kind of reparent them and then unburden them and integrate them. But that takes time, and that's work that not many people want to do. But that then, when you start doing that then the need to check out with this stuff then kind of falls by the wayside. But yeah, so it's a problem. And then someone like me comes along and, you know, kicks away people's pillars and, you know, says, well, like the new age stuff is garbage, and because that's an addiction, spirituality. You know, people go from one modality to the next modality, and you know, they spend years in that kind of cul-de-sac, if you like. And so, yeah, we have to be aware that these things that they give us, although it might make us feel good in the moment or take the edge off, ultimately in the long run, it's still, you know, still not solving the issues or getting us to where we need to be. So.
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to mention is alcohol. You know, that's one of the worst ones, right? Because it's crazy. Like, they promote it so much, and I know people probably already know this, but they promote it and they make it sound like it's like a sociable thing to do, but it's actually like, you know, like my dad died of like cancer, and like, you know, like he drank because he was in the Vietnam War and stuff like that, and like I saw like what alcohol can do to someone. It can really fuck someone up. You know, excuse my language, but it can really like mess someone up like really bad, you know? It's
absolutely. I mean, I always say I've got a general rule of thumb, like if anything's super popular, it's probably not good for us, right? And
yeah.
Alcohol, I mean, you look at the word spirits, right? I mean, it's telling you, and actually the word alcohol derives from the word algul, which is a demonic entity. And so when you get drunk, you're opening yourself up to that entity and probably a bunch of others. And this is why, like, when you're out, when you're out on a night out with Dave, and then Dave gets drunk and then starts getting violent, and then you're like, the next morning, you're like, wow, Dave was a completely different person last night. Well, yeah, that's because he's hosted, right? Dave left the building, and Al Gore or some other entity came in. And so you're not actually dealing with Dave in the true sense. You're dealing with this entity. And I remember once, Rob, this is fascinating. Back in the day, again, I don't do it anymore, but I took some acid on a beach in Cambodia with my friend. This is like years back, just before I started learning about all of this stuff. And it was an interesting trip for many reasons, but one of them was this, because we walked past this bar, this like beach bar, and they had all the spirits, the bottles of the spirits lined up. And I was looking at these bottles of spirits, and there were entities in the bottles of spirits. I could see faces.
Oh my God.
I could see faces in the bottles of vodka, the bottle of gin. And I'm like saying to my mate, I'm like, look, I said, mate, look at those bottles. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? And he saw the same, like all these demonic faces and weird faces, like in these bottles of spirits. And like now, you know, obviously now I say, like, when you drink alcohol itself contains spirits. And yeah, so I mean, it's an obvious one at this stage, but yeah, that's something that we really want to avoid it. And I live in Mexico. God, the drinking culture here. I mean, they all head down the beach at the weekend. They've got bags filled with beer. And same from where I'm from. Like, I'm from the UK. We have the pub culture there. Well, we used to before they all shut down. They shut them down over the COVID years, and we still have them. But they used to be like a hub for people to meet. Like, even like on a Monday or Tuesday night, they used to be really full. Now, I don't agree with the alcohol side of it, but it used to be places where I would imagine people used to plan and plot revolutions, you know, and stuff like that in those pubs. But now they're mainly empty, and they've lost their kind of, you know, the romance, basically. But on the alcohol side of things, yeah, we definitely in my culture in the UK, it was from the moment you hit, what age can you drink over there? Can't remember, 16, 17, maybe it's 18, I can't remember. But it's almost like that. As soon as you're old enough, the normal thing is to go and get drunk every night. And, you know, in my teens, I used to as well. I didn't know any different. That's just what everyone did. You know, we just used to go to the pubs, get drunk. And so, yeah, the culture in many cultures, it's the same. They really encourage drinking and alcohol. I mean, you look at how much money they spend on advertising, and it's all like on the major events, isn't it? It's ironic. You have like the World Cup or the Olympics, you know, events where it's supposed to be about sport and fitness and health, and yet the advertising companies are like Carlsberg and Heineken and all this stuff. So yeah, it's a huge problem in society. But I'm actually I don't know where I heard about it, but I heard that alcohol sales are way down over the last, you know, 5 or 6 years. So I think people are starting to wake up to it all. And I speak to a lot of young people as well, and a lot of them don't drink, you know. So I think that might be dying out a little bit, which would be good. But yeah, it just goes back to again your point that they give us all these things to lean into because they know that we're traumatized. They know we can't cope with this place. And so they know that we're going to look to naturally want to check out with ourselves. And they are happy to provide all those things for us to do so. And it's like the new age, you know. I always say, I'm the first person that would love to have guides or angels or all that kind of stuff. You know, if that were true, brilliant. Like, bring it on. I would love a team of guides that have got my back looking out for me. But, you know, it's not the case. These are entities, right? They're masquerading as guides and angels and stuff. But again, people want to lean into that because most people have been abandoned, betrayed by their own family members in many cases. And so when you're talking about guides and stuff, who wouldn't want that, you know? Who wouldn't want their family of Pleiadians like to be on their team? So I completely get why people do it, but we need to really understand that it's not there for our benefit, and it's really just going to lead to more deception and more cul-de-sacs, and maybe even to the point where if we don't wake up out of all that stuff, we end up being recycled back again, because we know these entities will masquerade at the point of death, at the light tunnel. You know, we know that they will appear as anything that you were close to in your physical life, whether that be angels, guides, Jesus, you know, dead loved ones, dead family pets. I mean, it goes. They're that sick that they will masquerade as loved ones, and so we really need to realise the scam that's being played here, because if we don't, then you know the consequences are huge potentially.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. I thought about when you were talking about beer. It made me think about this. I heard this one podcast. It was with Cliff High, and I heard him talking about that somewhere over in Europe they used to have beer, and it used to have like psilocybin in it, you know. And he said this was back in like antiquity, or not antiquity, but like maybe a couple hundred years ago. I can't remember if it was German beer or what, but or somewhere, but he said then the Catholic Church posted something where he said that this was all on a show he did with Rex from Leak Project, right? And he was saying that like he thought that maybe they were using this beer to like stop abductions because there was a lot of Celtic lore about abductions and people being taken up in like a glen or a mist. So he then compared that to like modern day alien abductions and stuff like that. But I thought it was interesting because I was like, well, maybe that could do the opposite. I'm not sure, you know. That's interesting though, you know.
So sorry, I missed. So there was something in the beer that was preventing people being taken.
Well, he was making that assumption. He was saying that like, you know, there used to be in somewhere over in Europe. I can't remember where. It was either German or somewhere. They used to have beer that was, we said it was more like a gruel from what I remember. This podcast was, I think he did this back in like, this was a long time ago. And he said that, that there was like psilocybin in the beer, you know, and then he said the Catholic Church outlawed it, but he thought he made the thing that maybe they were using this to help stop abductions. But like, from what we know now, it seems like that could actually cause people to be abducted. Or
I would go with the latter. Yeah, I would say anything like that would kind of open you up more. But yeah, I haven't heard about that. It's an interesting one. I'd need to look into that. But that's like, you know, they like smoking is bad, but they say that some of the you know, the ancient or the, you know, like the Native Americans and Aborigines, they used to smoke, but they obviously don't smoke all the stuff that we do. But I wonder what they said that would, I think it would like deter spirits and things like that. And there was actually some kind of health benefits from it as well. So I don't know if you've looked into that in the past, but.
Well, there's a thing going on now that they're saying that the nicotine destroys the nano. I don't know if you saw that going around. It's like a big thing in our community.
Yeah, I saw it, which is interesting. They've just banned smoking here on the streets in Mexico. Like that's, I mean, I don't smoke. I don't recommend it, but that's really huge. Like when you consider that smoking's been around for years, but just to actually, like, I don't think they enforce it, but to actually ban it, like just walking around the streets, just smoking a cigarette, it seems like really a severe thing to do. And you just wonder, yeah, maybe because everyone here took the you know what, or most people anyway, and maybe there's some truth in that, and maybe they don't want people, or they're trying to deter people from smoking because maybe the cigarettes do something like that. So yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, like, what do you think we should do, like when we, like, so say, like, we it's our time to exit this plane, or someone exits on a God knows, I mean, I could go tomorrow, like, do you think we just kind of turn away from the light and try to go elsewhere, or like, has anybody came up with a plan, like, and then like also like, do you, and this is all speculation, but like, what do you think? Do you think that then if we do turn away from that, then we would like return to like true source, or like if they're, you know, or like or somewhere outside of this major realm, I guess, or like.
Yeah. Well, that's $1 million question, isn't it? And there's a lot of us researchers that have been researching Soul Trap. And of course, you know, we've worked out the fact that the false light is the reincarnation recycling mill, you know, and that's when the light beings come in, and then you go for the life review, and then they guilt trip you and say they're not judging you, but show you your worst bits, so you judge yourself. And then they hit you with the bad karma. You know, you were a naughty boy, Rob. You know, you back in 2008, you had an argument with someone and you really hurt their feelings. So, you know, you got to come back and resolve your karma. Or if you're religious, then they'll just say, look, you know, you'll go to hell if you don't come back. And then we know that there's a whole Earth-like realm in the astral where people have jobs, there's money, there's food. Like they don't need food, but they think they need food. And that apparently is where people really go. The whole kind of heavenly realms and angelic realms is just for the NDE. So they come back and say how wonderful it all is, but it looks like you really end up going there, and they've shown that in movies like Beetlejuice and stuff like that. So that side it seems to be locked down like this side is. So we really want to avoid I mean, I would never tell anyone what to do exactly, but for me, I'm definitely not going to the light, that's for sure. I will use my intention with the intention to to go to the true the true not universe, but the true like multiverse or creation, you know, where my soul or my spirit originated from. And with intention is very powerful in that dimension, and it's instant. And the problem has been so far is your intention, it's like driving a car, right? If you don't use it, other beings or entities or, you know, gods, masters will manipulate and persuade you and trick you into driving your car into a cul-de-sac. So what we need to do, the first thing, is to take control of the car, and you decide where you go with your intention. So my intention is to leave the astral, because the astral is, say Earth is the prison, the astral is the prison yard. This is why, you know, when people are channeling and taking all these psychedelics and stuff, and they think they're getting all these insights, they're just going into the astral. We go way beyond the astral. And so my main intention is to remove myself from the astral realm, and exactly where I go to do that, it's not clear at this point, but they're my two main intentions for now. I think when you get to that point, you're more all-knowing, and I would like to think that I would be able to navigate myself from there. But I'm certainly not going to be talking to any entities or anything like that until I know that I'm definitely out of here. And even at that point, we still need to exercise discernment and stuff like that. But there's been other theories banding around. There's theories that there's like the grid around the planet. You know, Robert Monroe reported it. Other people have reported it, that you hit this grid. It's in like the Disney film Soul, you know that. So what I'm trying to do is get myself as well prepared as possible. So I don't have all the answers, but there's certain things that I'm definitely not going to be doing. And also the other thing is remembering that we have telekinesis abilities. You know, we're able to hit back, right? So what I'm saying at this point is that hopefully we won't need to, but I'm well prepared to hit back. And if any of these entities want to mess with me, you know, I'm prepared enough to, you know, to use those abilities. You know, so when I say telekinesis abilities, some of these astral travelers have reported that the people in the astral version of Earth are able to manifest food and money instantly. A couple of them have had battles with like astral police, and they've made them hit themselves with their own baton and that kind of stuff. So we have those abilities, but apparently in that realm, you're not allowed to talk about these abilities, and you're certainly not allowed to use them because you get punished, right? So this goes back to what I was saying before about how powerful we are. And they know if we remember and we realize that, you know, the things that we can do, you know, we're creators of worlds. So, you know, you could create your own realm or world and hang out there for a while. So there's all these things that we can do that we're not utilizing. Because we've been memory wiped so many times, we've forgotten we have these abilities. So it's important we remember, and I'm saying, you know, energy training is really important at this point for everyone, I would say. So, yes, the comment here says we are the creator waking up. Yeah, so I would say we have a spark of that creative essence within us. Yeah, we're like a sleeping battery. He words it really well there. So, yeah, and yeah, the more of us that get out of here, I think the whole thing comes down. So my hope is that we don't just get out of here, but we bring it down on the way out. I mean, for me to get out of here and knowing that there's all these souls and like suffering here in wars and children suffering, and you know, I feel like even if I get out of here, it's going to be like, you know, okay, I'm out, but there's loads of people that are stuck there. It just, I don't know. There's people that I love dearly. And I think some people are not strong enough, but they've just been traumatized so much in the memory wipes that I think there needs to be an army of us, like a sovereign, empowered army of people that, have done the work, they're energy training, they've got, they've worked out enough about what's going on here. All right, we don't have all the answers yet, but we need to get a bit nasty at this point. This is what I've been saying, because these entities, they look at what they're doing to us. Lifetime after lifetime, we're being traumatized, abused, kept in scarcity. Like I say, they don't. There's no level to the evil that they won't commit. And at what point does it get to where we think, okay, now it's time we use self-defense and we hit back? And so what I'm encouraging is that, maybe we need to get a little bit nasty at this point, because they're getting nasty. The memory wipe thing in and of itself, that's a very traumatic experience when you review these NDEs. Like, people are being forced to do them as well. Like, people say, oh, no consent. They don't care about no consent. They don't care about stuff like that. They're doing stuff anyway against our consent or no consent.
Yeah.
At that point, it becomes a very strong case for self-defense. And we need to be prepared. We need to be prepared for that.
Yeah, I agree. Like, there's been people who've told me, they're like, dude, you just need to own your power and tell that entity to leave. I'm like, it's not that easy. Like, this entity doesn't care if I tell it to leave. It's going to stay, until it wants to go. I've told it, Tony, like, I've tried everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've said, like, I've even tried Jesus. I'm not religious, but I've tried everything, I've tried commanding it out. I've tried commanding it out so much that I like hurt my throat, like screaming at it. You know what I mean? And it just sits there. It was living rent free on my head. It was living rent free in my back. I felt like there was a point where I was infested with entities. I felt like because it was weird. Like, all of a sudden I was able to perceive them. You know what I mean? And I could feel it in my throat. I could feel it in my liver. So I told someone the other day, I said, you got to clear me out. I said, I can't have this entity in my body. Like, I said, I don't, what worries me is, like, I don't care if something was, but it's like, what is it doing to my body? You know what I mean? That's what worries me. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you're still having issues with that, we can talk, but, I mean, they don't care about you telling them to go away. I mean, I've even heard people say that to send them love, like that, like, what they do understand is you delete you use your energy to wipe the fucker out, excuse my French, right? And so that is what they do understand, because then they're toast, right? Then they're absolutely toast, they're gone. And so that's the only thing that they understand. And if that's the only thing that they understand when they're doing all this evil shit to us, then that's the thing that we need to do. That's the thing we need to utilize. And that's what we need to, we need to start hitting back. And, you look at, like, the New Age and religions, and everything in it is to get us to stand down, it's to get us to be passive. It's to get us to just accept, don't judge. Like, what they don't want, Rob, is they don't want us hitting back. They don't want an army of us becoming sovereign, becoming empowered, energy training, using our telekinesis abilities, and hitting back. That's what they don't want, right? It's all to keep us in little me. What can I do? And we're at the point now where we've got to move out of that. And if we don't, we don't know what they're going to do when we pass over. We don't know, right? You hear all kinds of stuff going on, right? There's I listened to one astral traveler. He said that these entities, sometimes some of them have got butterfly nets, these kind of electromagnetic butterfly nets, and they're doing stuff with souls. And I'm like, you ain't doing that with me again, right? You come at me with that, I'm gonna turn it back on you using telekinesis abilities. And that's what they don't want. They don't want that kind of like you know what I mean? Like we've had enough now, and you've pushed us too far, and we've got enough information to, hopefully get out. But we may need to hit back at points. And
Yeah.
you know, we got to stop playing small now, and you know, we've got to move out of this little me. And I know people have got trauma, and you know, my heart goes out to people, but we've got to take the control back and realize that we're the powerful ones. We're the ones that they're scared of. They're like Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. And it's time now. You know, we've been sharing lots of information. We know what's going on. We know there's evil entities there. Like we've got to take it to the next stage. And the more of us that can embody that kind of sovereign energy, then I think, you know, we stand a chance of getting out and bringing the whole thing down, because it's not impossible. Like I say, we are the batteries that power this, just like the film The Matrix. And you take the batteries out of any appliance, it will stop working. And this AI supercomputer, I think, that's behind all of this, it won't have the energy to run itself. And that's how we're going to do it, I think. And yeah, I think that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I like that, man. Well, we could keep it maybe at that, because I'd like to put this on TikTok, because, like, you know, YouTube's not monetizing my channel. They said my content's too dangerous, you know. So it's like, but what I was saying about for content creators out there, like TikTok started allowing people to upload hour-long pre-recorded videos, you know. So instead of me having to go and use an editor or whatever and like split the video, I figured maybe we could just cap it at like an hour. We were like 46 minutes now. But I mean, like, you know, but I mean, this was amazing, Tony. Like, I always enjoyed talking to you, man. Like, you know, like, you know, you always have great ideas. You know, I was going to say someone else who I like talking to too is Mike Martin. I know you've interviewed Mike.
I've had him on my channel, yeah.
It seems like he wants to like close down the Matrix as well, you know. Yeah. It seems like he's really like, you know, like you two are really about like bringing this place down, you know, and that's, I think that's what I think we need, you know.
Yeah, I'd like to. I mean, there's too many. Just in my own personal life, there's just, you know, there's people that I adore here, you know, that I love to bits, and you know, they're not strong enough. They maybe could be, but you know, through their own traumas and brainwashing and stuff like that. So I don't think it's going to need absolutely everyone. Obviously, the more people, the better. And yeah, for me, I want to bust this place up on the way out. I'm sick of it. I'm sick. My spirit will never rest while I know that this place is still operating, and kids are being bombed, and you know, all the stuff that's going on here. It's got to end. You know, really. Like I say, I don't have all the answers, but this is my intention, and you know, I think that's what we need. We need an army of like sovereign warriors at this point. But yeah, I mean, it's great to talk to you, Rob, and you know, I'm really sorry about what happened to your channel. I mean, you know, I think you people will still follow you. I'll put this on my channel and throw people your way. So, you know, I'll get a lot of people when I upload it. So I don't know, can you send me the link, or will you put it on your YouTube and I can get it from there?
However you want. I can send you that. I can download it afterwards and send you. I can send you it with file mail. You know what I mean? I'll send you the actual thing so you can upload it to wherever you want. You know, and yeah, I'll do that right now. And did you want to tell people where they can find you? And thanks, Tony. This was awesome.
Yeah, they're just obviously I've got my YouTube channel, which is up at the moment, which is just my name, Tony Sayers. All my other stuff, all my sessions, my course, other information is on my website, transcendingtimes.org.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, I'd love to do this again, and thank you everybody for tuning in. And yeah, thank you, Tony. And until next time, guys, and take care, everyone. Have a good day.